6 months to live, he murmured, the doctor's words still ringing in his ears. They echoed in his mind like thunder rolling through an empty cathedral, loud, endless, and impossible to escape. Billionaire Edward Whitmore sat frozen behind his massive oak desk. The room was silent, yet it felt unbearably loud inside his head. In his trembling hands, he held the letter that had just shattered his world into a million tiny pieces. His chest felt heavy, as if the air itself had grown thicker, making it hard to breathe. Hello friends, thank you so much for stopping by. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, like and share this video to your family and friends. I truly appreciate your kind heart. So, let's begin. At 62 years old, Edward had built an empire worth 3 billion euros. His hotels stretched across Europe, his restaurants earned Michelin stars, and his charity foundation had helped thousands of people. Yet as death knocked on his door, he felt more alone than ever before. Edward had no wife, no children, no family who truly cared about him. The vultures were already circling, distant relatives, business partners, and fair-weather friends who only called when they needed something. But who among them genuinely loved him? Who would miss Edward Whitmore the man, not just his money? That afternoon, Edward made a decision that would change everything. He walked to his private study, where a massive steel safe stood behind a painting of the Eiffel Tower. His fingers trembled as he entered the code, 241289. The heavy door swung open, revealing stacks of cash, precious jewels, important documents, and a small black velvet box containing his mother's diamond necklace, the only thing he truly treasured. Edward stepped back and left the safe wide open. Then he activated the hidden cameras he had installed throughout the mansion years ago for security. Tonight, he would discover the true nature of the people around him. The first test subject would be Rosa Williams, his maid of 3 years. Rosa was a 34-year-old woman from London who had moved to France after her husband died in a car accident. She worked 6 days a week, sending most of her salary back to England to support her 2 young children who lived with her mother. Edward had always noticed Rosa's quiet dignity. She never complained, never asked for raises, and treated his expensive belongings with the same care she would give her own treasures. But money changes people, Edward thought bitterly. When faced with more cash than she could earn in 10 lifetimes, would Rosa's true colors finally show? As evening approached, Edward retreated to his bedroom and pretended to sleep early, claiming he felt unwell. He watched through his tablet as Rosa began her usual evening routine, dusting the furniture, organizing books, and cleaning the marble floors until they sparkled like mirrors. At exactly 9:30, Rosa entered the study to empty the trash bins. Edward held his breath as she moved closer to the safe. The camera captured every detail: her simple blue dress, her worn but clean shoes, the way she hummed softly while working. Then Rosa saw it. The safe door hung open like a mouthful of treasures. Bundles of euro notes were stacked neatly on the shelves. Diamond earrings glittered under the soft lighting. Important papers and contracts lay scattered inside. Rosa froze. She looked around the room quickly, as if checking whether someone was watching. Edward's heart pounded as he leaned closer to his tablet screen. What happened next made Edward's blood run cold. Rosa didn't hesitate. She walked straight to the safe and reached inside. Edward's worst fears seemed to be coming true. After 3 years of trust, Rosa was about to steal from him. His finger hovered over the security alarm button, ready to call the police. But then something strange happened. Instead of grabbing the money, Rosa began organizing the contents of the safe. She straightened the stacks of cash, arranged the jewelry boxes properly, and carefully gathered the scattered documents into neat piles. Edward blinked in confusion. What was she doing? Rosa stepped back from the safe and looked around the study once more. Then she walked to Edward's desk and found a pen and paper. Under the soft light of the desk lamp, she began to write something. After several minutes, Rosa folded the paper and placed it on Edward's desk where he would surely see it in the morning. Then she did something that shocked Edward to his core. Rosa reached into her small purse and pulled out her own wallet. From inside, she took out two 20-euro bills, probably most of her spending money for the week. She placed the 40 euros inside the safe next to the thousands of euros that were already there. Then Rosa carefully closed the safe door and spun the lock. She gathered her cleaning supplies and left the room, still humming that same gentle tune. Edward stared at his tablet screen in complete silence. His hands were shaking. In all his years of business, dealing with politicians, millionaires, and celebrities, he had never seen anything like this. The next morning, Edward rushed to his study. The note Rosa had left was still on his desk, written in her careful handwriting. Dear Mr. Whitmore, I found your safe open last night. I have closed it and made sure everything inside is safe and organized. I also added 40 euros from my own savings because I noticed some papers inside mentioned a charity for orphan children in Paris. I have been wanting to donate to a good cause but didn't know how. Please use my small gift to help those children. I hope you are feeling better today. You seemed tired yesterday. With respect, Rosa Williams P.S. I have prepared your favorite breakfast and left it warming in the kitchen. Edward's eyes filled with tears as he read the note again and again. This woman, who earned barely enough to support herself and her children, who worked long hours for modest pay, who had every reason to feel bitter about the unfairness of life, had seen more money than she could dream of, and her first instinct was to give more. But Edward's emotions were a storm of confusion and shame. Had he misjudged Rosa so completely? Or was this some elaborate trick? Maybe she had taken something and left this note to cover her tracks. Maybe she was smarter than he thought, playing a long game to win his trust before making a bigger move. The suspicious businessman in Edward couldn't let go so easily. That evening, he decided to test Rosa again. This time, Edward left his laptop open on his desk, with his bank account displayed on the screen. The balance showed over 50 million euros. He also left several expensive watches scattered carelessly around the room and placed a stack of credit cards next to them. Once again, Edward watched from his bedroom as Rosa entered the study. She saw the laptop immediately, and Edward zoomed in on her face with the camera. Rosa's eyes widened as she read the enormous number on the screen. For a long moment, she just stared. Then Rosa did something Edward never expected. She gently closed the laptop and pushed it to the center of the desk where it would be safer. She gathered the expensive watches and placed them carefully in Edward's desk drawer. She picked up the credit cards, found Edward's wallet in his jacket pocket, and slipped them inside where they belonged. Before leaving, Rosa wrote another note. Mr. Whitmore, please be more careful with your valuable things. The world has many dishonest people who might take advantage. I have put your watches and cards in safe places. Also, you left your computer showing private information. I closed it to protect your privacy. Sleep well, Rosa. Edward sat in stunned silence. This time, there could be no doubt. Rosa had seen 50 million euros on his screen, enough money to solve every problem in her life, and she had protected him from potential thieves. But the biggest test was yet to come. On the third night, Edward's cynical mind devised the ultimate challenge. He would create a situation so tempting, so emotionally manipulative, that no one could resist. Edward left a fake letter on his desk, written in his own handwriting. The letter was addressed to his imaginary lawyers, and it contained shocking instructions. I am dying and have no family to inherit my fortune. I have decided to leave everything to charity, except for 1 million euros, which will go to my faithful maid, Rosa Williams, who has shown me more kindness than anyone else in my life. Next to the letter, Edward left an envelope containing exactly 1,000 euros in cash and another note. Rosa's advance payment, E.W. This was the perfect trap. If Rosa read the letter, she would believe she was already entitled to the money. Taking 1,000 euros would seem insignificant compared to the 1 million euros coming her way. And if she was truly dishonest, the fake letter would give her the perfect excuse to start stealing. Edward's heart hammered in his chest as he watched Rosa enter the study for the third time. She began her usual cleaning routine, but froze when she saw the letter on the desk. Rosa glanced around nervously. Clearly, she felt wrong about reading her employer's private correspondence. But the letter was lying open, and her name was visible on the page. Slowly, Rosa read the letter. Edward watched her face change from confusion to shock to something that looked like panic. She read it twice, then 3 times, as if she couldn't believe the words. Then Rosa began to cry. Edward was not prepared for this reaction. Through the camera, he could see tears streaming down Rosa's face as she clutched the letter. She wasn't crying tears of joy or greed. These were tears of deep sadness. Rosa sat down in Edward's chair and buried her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook as she sobbed quietly. After several minutes, she wiped her eyes and began to write her longest letter yet. Dear Mr. Whitmore, I accidentally read your private letter tonight, and I am heartbroken to learn about your illness. I cannot accept any money from you, especially not when you are suffering. You have already given me so much by trusting me with your home and treating me with respect. In my 3 years here, you have never spoken harshly to me or made me feel small, even though I am just a maid and you are a very important man. I know you think you have no family, but you are wrong. Everyone who works in this house cares about you more than you realize. Marie the cook always worries when you don't finish your meals. Jacques the gardener takes extra care of your roses because he knows they make you smile. And I pray for your health every night. Please don't give me any money. Instead, spend it on treatments that might save your life. Spend it on experiences that bring you joy. Spend it on people who love you. And there are more of us than you think. If you truly are dying, then don't die alone and bitter. Let the people who care about you be close to you during this difficult time. I am returning the money you left for me. Use it for something that makes you happy. Your friend, if I may call myself that, Rosa P.S. My grandmother used to say that wealth is not measured in coins, but in the number of people who would cry at your funeral. By that measure, Mr. Whitmore, you are the richest man in France. Rosa placed the letter on the desk and left the envelope of money untouched. Then she did something that broke Edward's heart completely. She walked to the family photo on Edward's bookshelf, a picture of him with his parents who had died 20 years ago. Rosa touched the frame gently and whispered, "Please watch over him. He needs you now." Edward turned off his tablet and sat in the darkness of his bedroom, crying harder than he had cried since childhood. Rosa's words echoed in his mind. Don't die alone and bitter. How had he become such a fool? How had he spent so many years suspecting the worst in people that he had missed the good that was right in front of him? The next morning, Edward made a decision that would change his life forever. He called Rosa into his study and gestured for her to sit down. The letter she had written was still on his desk, along with the untouched envelope of money. "Rosa," Edward began, his voice shaking with emotion, "I need to tell you the truth about something." Rosa looked worried. "Have I done something wrong, Mr. Whitmore?" "No," Edward said quickly. "You have done everything right. More right than I ever imagined possible." He took a deep breath. "Rosa, I have been testing you. For 3 nights I left temptations in this room and watched to see what you would do." Rosa's face went pale. "You were watching me?" "Yes, and I am deeply ashamed of myself for it." Edward picked up her letter from the night before. "Rosa, you passed every test in ways that have humbled me completely. But more than that, you have taught me something about the kind of person I want to be in whatever time I have left." Edward stood and walked to the window, looking out at the beautiful gardens that Jacques tended with such care. "You were right about me dying alone and bitter, Rosa. I have spent so many years protecting myself from people who might want my money that I forgot how to recognize people who might actually care about me." He turned back to face her. "Rosa, I want to offer you something, but not what you think. I don't want to give you money, at least not in the way you might expect." Rosa looked confused but remained silent. I want to offer you a partnership, Edward continued. I have been thinking about what to do with my fortune when I die. Instead of leaving it all to charity after I'm gone, why don't I start using it to help people while I'm still alive? And I want you to help me decide how to do it. Edward's voice grew stronger as he spoke. You know what it's like to struggle, to worry about money, to work hard for everything you have. You understand the needs of real people in ways that I never could. Rosa, will you help me learn how to give away my fortune in ways that actually matter? Rosa stared at him in shock. Mr. Whitmore, I don't understand. You want me to help you give away your money? Yes, starting immediately. Edward smiled for the first time in months. But I have some conditions. Rosa waited nervously. First, your salary is tripled, effective immediately. And before you argue, Edward held up his hand as Rosa started to protest. This is not charity. If you're going to help me make decisions about millions of euros, you need to be paid appropriately for that responsibility. Second, I want to fly your children here from England to live with you. I have plenty of room in this house, and I think it's time it was filled with the sound of young voices again. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Whitmore. Third, Edward continued, I want you to help me plan a celebration of life, not a funeral, but a party while I'm still alive to enjoy it. I want to invite everyone who has ever worked for me, everyone who has ever been kind to me, and I want to celebrate the good things in life while I still can. And finally, Edward's voice became softer. Rosa, I want to ask you for forgiveness. I spent 3 days suspecting you of being a thief when you are one of the most honest people I have ever met. I am sorry for not trusting you. I am sorry for not seeing your goodness sooner. Rosa was crying openly now. She stood up and walked to Edward, then did something that surprised them both. She hugged him. Mr. Whitmore, she whispered, you don't need to apologize. You were hurt and scared. But you're not alone anymore. Over the following months, Edward and Rosa became the most unlikely partnership in France. Working together, they established scholarships for children who had lost parents. They funded medical research for Edward's illness. They created job training programs for people like Rosa, who had come to France seeking better opportunities. Edward's health improved dramatically, not because of any miracle cure, but because he had found a reason to fight for his life. Having Rosa's children, Emma and James, running through his mansion filled it with laughter for the first time in decades. The celebration of life that Rosa helped plan became legendary in Lyon. Over 300 people came to honor Edward while he was still alive to appreciate their love. Marie the cook prepared a feast fit for kings. Jacques decorated the gardens with the most beautiful flowers Edward had ever seen. And Rosa gave a speech that brought everyone to tears as she talked about the true meaning of wealth. But perhaps the most beautiful moment came 6 months later, when Edward's latest medical tests showed something incredible. The cancer that had been killing him was in complete remission. The doctors called it a miracle. Edward knew it was something even more powerful. It was the healing power of love, purpose, and human connection. Edward lived for 15 more years. During that time, he and Rosa gave away over 2 billion euros to causes that mattered. They built schools, funded hospitals, and created programs that helped thousands of families. When Edward finally passed away peacefully at the age of 77, Rosa's prediction came true. The funeral was attended by over 1,000 people whose lives had been touched by Edward's generosity. But Rosa was wrong about one thing. Edward wasn't the richest man in France. He was the richest man in the world because he had learned the greatest secret of all. True wealth is not about what you can accumulate, but about what you can give away. And it all started with a maid who chose honesty over opportunity, kindness over greed, and love over money. The safe that Edward had left open as a test became a symbol in his study, not of temptation, but of trust. And inside it, he kept Rosa's original note, the 40 euros she had donated to charity, and a photo from his celebration of life, surrounded by all the people who truly loved him. Sometimes the greatest treasures are not the ones we lock away, but the ones we leave open for the world to see. And sometimes the most valuable thing we can discover is not gold or diamonds, but the golden heart of another human being who sees us not for what we own, but for who we are. Edward Whitmore died knowing he was loved. And Rosa Williams learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is not taking what they offer, but giving them what they really need: friendship, respect, and the knowledge that they matter. The mansion in Lyon still stands today, now converted into a foundation headquarters where Rosa continues Edward's work. And visitors often ask about the beautiful portrait hanging in the main hall. A picture of an elderly billionaire and a young maid standing together and smiling, surrounded by two happy children. The plaque beneath the portrait reads, "True wealth lies not in what we possess, but in the love we share and the lives we touch." It was a lesson that began with a test of character and ended with the transformation of two souls who found in each other the family they had both been searching for all their lives. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to like and share this video. It means the world to me. Take care of yourself and never forget how much you're loved. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Sending you all my love.